What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the You Know Birds podcast with the Bell and the Bird crew. We are here on another Victory Monday for our Philadelphia Eagles. It's trade deadline week. We got some slop dropping all over the timeline, but in the meantime, let's celebrate yet another victory, a A.J. Brown masterclass for our Philadelphia Eagles. Vince, how are we feeling about yesterday's win?
I mean, my God, whatever. How am I blanking on it? 10 seconds into the show, I blank on the coordinator's name into Washington. What the hell? Bieniemy, Eric Bieniemy. Jesus Christ! Someone hire that guy. Can somebody hire that guy to be a head coach, please? For the love of God, get him out of Washington. Like they're a respectable organization now. I don't like this. It's a really weird thing to see because they've already been a problem anyway all the time, regardless of how bad and miserable they've been. But like he actually knows what he's doing and they look good. You're going to like this, Trill. Sam Howell looks like a good version, like a better version of Baker Mayfield. And seeing how all this stuff comes around, I mean, it's like the nice thing is, as good as Washington looks, the simple fact is the Eagles are just so loaded of talent that it doesn't matter. And like, that is the best thing. It's the best song to sing. I've been singing it for 2 years now. It's just, they have too many good players. They can't go wrong. Even when they're not clicking, things look ugly, red zone turnovers, all those different things. I mean, it's just, how do you stop this team? Like and this is with them turning the ball over. I mean, that's the crazy part. Usually it's like, oh, well, if they turn the ball over, they're going to lose. Even when they turn the ball over, and they have all season long, they're 7-1. They're 7-1.
Here's the formula. No Jalen Carter, no Lane Johnson, 4 turnovers, MetLife Stadium, historically good Jets defense that might carry them to the playoffs with a historically bad offense. That's apparently the only way you could beat this Philadelphia Eagles team. But the Sam Howell stuff, the Eric Bieniemy stuff, man, doesn't matter who the coordinator is for the Eagles. Seems like they can kind of figure out whatever this Vic Fangio style of defense is that Sean Desai's running. Obviously, Fangio was helping the team last year during the Super Bowl, and Jonathan Gannon's defense was absolutely picked apart by Bieniemy. Second straight game that Sam Howell has looked like Tom Brady against the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're 2-0 in those games. Somehow, at one point, I tweeted during the game that when he sees an Eagles jersey, he turns into Tom Brady, and the best part about that was the fact that he ended up getting sacked. And it looked like a fumble on the biggest play of the game, which I thought made the comp even more appropriate considering Tom Brady's history in big games with the Eagles. So I thought that honestly, coming out of there yesterday was just another encouraging sign, despite, like you said, the red zone problems continue, the turnover problems continue, and they put their head down and they figured out a way to win the game. And I know that John's been stewing on some takes about our guy, A.J. Brown. John, how'd you feel about that A.J. Brown masterclass yesterday?
I mean, yes, he should be in the MVP conversation. That's not even a question. We can debate whether Tyreek Hill honestly, that's where I'm at. Is it more Jalen or AJ that they are to this point? And I don't really care because they're both on this team. So everyone can enjoy that debate for as long as they want to. The curious thing for me after this is, what the fuck is it going to take for everyone just to say the Philadelphia Eagles are an amazing football team and Jalen Hurts is yet again ascending to a top 5 quarterback? That has not come across anyone's mouth at 7-1 and repeating all the stuff that we have for weeks on end. We're still sitting here asking why the 49ers and Brock Purdy aren't fucking working out. Because he's not good. Because he's not Jalen Hurts. Because it's not, man, I thought I probably gave too much credit to Justin Herbert is my initial takes on a Sunday or on a Monday night after this. Like, Jalen's playing on one knee. He barely is able to plant on his injured knee foot, and he's throwing dimes out there to AJ Brown. AJ Brown's catching him one-handed, two-handed, stiff arming your grandmother. Like, he doesn't care who is in your way. He is going to score a touchdown. He's going to make sure you know. And by the way, all those people that were saying run the football yesterday, being down 14-3 and not having one lead until the fourth quarter, can shut up too. That is why you need to be throwing the football. And Trill, they gave you the best delight ever. They finally listened to you. They threw to Julio Jones in the fucking red zone. So, like, yes, everything is going to click for this offense moving forward. I'm not worried about that part at all.
I totally agree with you. Back to the AJ versus Jalen thing. I think that I'll put it like this. I've been thinking about it ever since you said that earlier. And I think Jalen, we've seen it before. Jalen is more important to the success of the team. When Jalen goes out, the drop off with whoever the backup quarterback's going to be, whether it's Gardner Minshew or it's Marcus Mariota, or if we got our way, Tanner McKee, whoever that is, the drop off between Hurts and average backup would be a bigger detriment to the Philadelphia Eagles than if AJ Brown were to miss a game or miss an extended period of time. Having said that, on the whole this season, AJ Brown has been the best player for the Philadelphia Eagles on offense. And he has been breaking records, the first player to have 6 straight games with 125 yards or more. He is literally always open. I think the best play in the playbook is just throw it up for AJ Brown. He will make a play, whether it's in the end zone or it's anywhere on the field. This guy is, if not the best wide receiver in football, in the top 2 or 3. And for this year, I don't think MVP is ever going to really go to anyone who's a non-quarterback anymore. But if you look around the league, this would be the year, right? I mean, we love Jalen, but he's had turnover issues. The Eagles have the best record. Patrick Mahomes is having a down statistical year for him because he is him. And even the guys that were in the race earlier, Purdy's falling out. Tua is still good, but look at their record against teams that are actually good. They've played the Bills and the Eagles, and they've lost, and then they've beat up on a bunch of bad teams. So I would imagine that Tua's stats regress by the end of the year if he's even able to stay healthy. And then who are we talking about here? Like, if you would consider someone, I've been joking all season that if Kirk Cousins, who unfortunately tore his Achilles yesterday, was on the San Francisco 49ers,
I'm blaming you for that, by the way.
But he would be running away with MVP, right? Like, would he not? Like, if he were putting up these stats on the 49ers and they had 2 more wins than they have right now, but that's the kind of year it is what I'm trying to say. So I think Offensive Player of the Year in the NFC is certainly in the cards for AJ Brown, and I think that if the season ended today, he would get that award. But who is going to win MVP is the real question to me, because if the top guys aren't there with the stats and the other guys can't stay healthy, and even some guys that are putting up great stats aren't on great teams, then I'm not really sure what this MVP race is going to look like. But I think AJ Brown has the best case for any non-quarterback in the NFL right now.
Vince, you on that, Mark?
Yeah,
too? Look, here's the other thing that I will.
Go ahead, John.
Oh no, I was just gonna compliment you because I'm fully on. He's better than T.O. So he is. He's so much better than T.O. I don't know what to say. We both lived through it. We both saw it. I'm with you now. Credit for sticking your neck out there when I was too much of a wuss to do so.
Yeah, it's just the truth. I mean, he's got better hands than Terrell Owens ever did. He does the same things that T.O. does. He does it all the time. He's a better teammate. There's nothing about him that doesn't make him better than Terrell Owens. It just is what it is. And for T.O., he was a great player, but he's one of the greatest receivers to ever live. And that's to Trill's point. When you're in the MVP discussion as a wide receiver at this stage of the season, you're just one of the best to do it in the league. And you are potentially a guy that can be one of the all-time greats. Like AJ Brown at this stage in his career, he's been in the league a couple of years now. He's still a really young guy. I mean, what is he, 25, 26? For that kind of age, this kind of production, this is what elite players do. I mean, there was a play at one point in this game where they throw it behind the line of scrimmage to AJ Brown. He's got 3 guys in the vicinity on him. He has no reason to get any yardage whatsoever on that play. They throw him the ball. He breaks a tackle or 2, falls forward. He ends up getting 3-4 yards on the play. He had no business doing that. He had no business whatsoever. There's very few guys in the league that can make that happen. And it is kind of funny to see Smitty on the opposite side because, for him, he's not a massive tackle breaker. He's just the technician. It's almost like on some level that you have T.O. and Marvin Harrison on the same team. There's just something to be said about that kind of talent on both sides. Consistently spectacular catches. They just do everything you need to do. Smitty's a great blocker. AJ's a great blocker. It's just perfect team football. And that's what MVP should be. So I'm totally with you on that campaign.
Yeah. And I saw a stat on Twitter that was from a buddy of mine, Mike Lynch, at Sport Info 24/7.
Great follow, by the way.
He works for StatHead, aka Football Reference and Basketball Reference. I follow him for a lot of NBA and NFL stuff. And he had a stat that blew my mind. Yards per target in the NFL during a player's career. Number 5, Tyreek Hill, 9.7. Number 4, Malcolm Floyd, 9.7.
Wow.
There's a throwback name for you if you haven't heard that in a while.
Was that mostly as a Charger? That's
that
impressive.
was all. He only played for the Chargers.
Oh,
so
right,
that was
right.
his entire career. Yeah. 9.7. Number 3, Deshaun Jackson, 9.8. Another famous deep threat. Justin Jefferson, number 2, is 10.2. And after yesterday, A.J. Brown has moved into the number 1 spot all time for yards per target for any receiver in NFL history with 10.3 yards per target. So this guy, basically, if you're targeting him, you're getting a first down. On average, if you target A.J. Brown, you are getting a first down. So possibly the most efficient wide receiver we've ever seen. And I want to give all the love to Jalen after yesterday, because outside of that fumble in the end zone and what he played through, he was amazing. Another stat from Mike from that game was that him and Howie were the first quarterbacks in NFL history to throw for at least 75% of their passing yards completed, 300 touchdowns and 4 TDs in the same game. It was quite literally the most efficient quarterback day in the history of the NFL in that game. So pretty amazing offenses we watched yesterday. And obviously, I wanted to start with some positive stuff with the way that AJ's been wrecking it, with the way that Jalen's been playing through this bone bruise. By the way, I don't know if you know how painful a bone bruise is, but when guys in the NBA get this, Lonzo Ball got this and had to sit out for months at a time when he had this. So I just think that what he's been able to do, Jalen, and just not sitting out any games is incredibly commendable. And I think the fact that he looked the best he's looked all season as a thrower. They didn't run any design runs for Jalen. He barely escaped the pocket basically the whole day. Everything was done from inside the pocket. And he was looking like you said, John, a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and certainly someone who's a candidate for MVP. So give the flowers to Jalen. You know, I'm still a little concerned with the offense as a whole in terms of the turnovers, but in terms of the process that we saw yesterday, you couldn't ask for much better process, figuring out some of the red zone stuff as the game went on. And yeah, I just hope that we don't see Washington in the playoffs at any time, because Sam Howell will be turning back into Tom Brady and Eric Bieniemy will be driving us insane. So hopefully this is the end of their season. They're sellers at the trade deadline and we don't have to worry about them again.
Yeah, I would much appreciate that. And I don't think we're going to see them
I think we're good
for quite a long time. And that's what I'll get into I guess it's my role to be the bitcher anyway. So like, let's get into some of the bullshit that happened. Like, even with the bullshit, like I know it's bullshit, but how do you correct, like, hey, don't fumble a tush push? It just seemed like a weird freak incident. Kenny Gainwell, hold on to the fucking ball. Okay, like
here's how you fix that. Don't play Kenny Gainwell all
Amen.
the time.
Amen.
Why does the coaching staff trust this guy?
Say it again.
He's missing
3rd and 7 the previous game and did a whoopsie doozy for like a go ahead touchdown, didn't he? So like, I don't know. I get it, but when your only 2 active running backs are DeAndre Swift, or 3, I guess, Bosco, because he's really reserved for your kick returner, so you don't want to ruin him. As Vince Quinn keeps pointing out, like almost on the daily now, they hate Rashad Penny and he'll never be active for a football game. I've got Les Bowen yelling that you shouldn't trade for a running back at the deadline too, by the way. And I'm going, well, I don't know. They got to trust somebody other than Swift. And it doesn't, I mean, I don't know. You can't run with Jalen Hurts in his knee, right? Sure. There was no QB sneaks for a reason. I just don't know why they didn't throw 60 times in this game, to be honest with you. Like, just do that. What was correctable on those 2 turnovers? Other than that,
they definitely seem like kind of more outlier freak things, especially the tush push, the most effective play in the NFL. I saw people complaining about that, but I was like, look, it's worked literally all year. It was a miscommunication and a rare error by Jalen in that situation. The Gainwell thing is really where it just starts to get me, because the thing that I feel like I was lied to about Gainwell, I feel like the whole coaching staff told me, oh, we trust him. he's going to be the number one running back. And then immediately it was obvious that DeAndre Smith was a much more talented player and a much more dynamic, explosive player. And we saw Gainwell's snaps go down. We saw his carries go down. And now we're seeing him in this context where, look, guys are going to fumble. It's not like Swift hasn't had fumbling issues throughout his career as well, even though he's only fumbled one time with the Eagles. But it just feels like we were lied to about Gainwell. And I'm not like, go trade a second-round pick for Derrick Henry or anything. But I do think that I'm not really too concerned about the running back room, and just kind of, they've had really good health to start the year, though. And if you want to have some sort of insurance policy, if you want to throw a late round pick, we always talk about, oh, I'll send you my 6th round pick for your 7th round pick, those kind of trades, and go get a guy who's, somewhat more trustworthy than Gainwell or whoever else could be in this position if there are injuries, then I understand that. But I think that there are bigger needs on the team right now, specifically at linebacker. And I think that that is something that Howie is looking to upgrade over the next 24 hours before we hit our trade deadline, at least according to The Athletic. So,
well, Tyre's getting really pumped up that they said linebacker.
I know.
Yeah, damn right I'm getting excited. It's about damn time we start, talking about one of the best positions in football. One of the most important, by the way, John.
We're so back.
But don't you think, like, for even, this is for you, Ty, don't you think Diana Rossini is saying linebacker, but like everyone's just assumes that means inside linebacker? I think it's outside linebacker without a doubt. Like, I cannot see them wasting another resource, just like I can't really see them wasting a resource on a running back either. Like, it's not going to be an inside linebacker. You think it's going to be an inside linebacker, Ty?
I'm not gonna say it's going to be an inside backer, but I will say it will be a pass. How do I put this? A linebacker that can cover. That's who it really needs to be. Not necessarily a pass rusher. Sure, you need to replace Derek Barnett, but nobody gives a damn about Derek Barnett as long as he ain't fucking up. That's the big thing. Just don't fuck up.
He tried yesterday.
Yeah, he tried. He came real close yesterday. I saw it. I saw the late hit, and I was like, oh, you mother. Okay, they didn't call it. All right, let me calm down. But if there's one guy I think Howie should go after, especially considering that their quarterback just took a season-ending injury yesterday, I think it's time to bring Simba home. I'm just saying. I think it's time to bring Jordan Hicks home. I think he leads the league in linebackers in terms of pass deflections, if I'm not mistaken. We already know how good he is as a cover guy. I'm so sick and tired of teams nickel and diming us in the middle of the field. If they don't feel like or don't want to test Darius Slay and James Bradbury, they pick us apart over the middle. I don't think putting Reed Blankenship in the middle of the field in man coverage is the smartest thing to do, as we saw yesterday against the Commanders. So I think it's time to bring a cover linebacker who we drafted in the 3rd round home. One of the few non-mistakes that Chip Kelly ever made throughout his tenure here in Philadelphia. Please bring Jordan Hicks home. That's my pitch.
Well, the question is, will Howie bring in a chip guy? Because that's true. That is true. That withstanding beef. But the reality of the situation is, I agree. I mean, look, history tells us Howie is not investing a lot in those positions. History tells us he's more likely to acquire an outside linebacker that can possibly be an edge rusher. All of that, sure. I definitely think it's not really, it's just an embarrassment of riches at that point. Like, I know that we love, like, Derek Barnett drives us crazy, and some of these guys that are shuffling in and out aren't perfect yet. You want to get Nolan Smith some more reps and hope that he develops his game throughout the course of the season. But, like, to me, it's pretty obvious, like you were saying, we're getting carved up over the middle of the field, especially on these quick routes where when you face these quarterbacks, now look, are these plays low ceiling? Yes. They're not going to be killing you down the field, which has been the whole goal of this offense. And we talked about it when, it's the end of the first half yesterday, and they're doing the thing that drives Ty crazy, and they're playing 10 yards off, and they get in field goal range, and they kick that field goal. Those kind of plays have been driving us crazy all year. But the thing that I've talked about, and one of the reasons why I love the Bayard acquisition, was because they've had this lack of turnovers. They've had this lack of playmakers on the defense. And the fact is, you get guys that can come in that can cover over the middle of the field. You get guys that can come in that can get interceptions and deflections and make plays on the field, it's going to make things so much easier, because a lot of these plays that we're seeing whenever we play Washington, like I said, they're low ceiling plays. They're not explosive plays by any means, but they're also low turnover plays. They turned the ball over finally at the end of the game, but it took, 8 quarters of this for Sam Howell to have 1 turnover against the Philadelphia Eagles, their pass rush, with how we have looked crushing quarterbacks in other games. I just think it's nice to have options, and I think it's nice to have guys that can give you a little bit more diversity in what you want to do on defense. Now, I'm not saying give up a ton of draft capital or anything, but if there's a guy available like Jordan Hicks or someone that you think you could trust a little bit more, and it can kind of shore up that linebacking core, I'm all for it.
They need it. I mean, why not? Like, at this point, you're good everywhere. I mean, it's the only real weak spot. So if they decide, all right, let's go in for a linebacker who's on an expiring deal, get the comp pick after the season, like, that totally works. If it were up to me, I would rather trade for a running back, honestly. Give me the running back. Give me the power guy, especially with Jalen having the injury. Penny sucks. So I'll keep saying that because John said it earlier, so we didn't say it enough. Penny sucks. But to Penny's credit, he's not hurt. So he didn't get hurt. So that's a successful run. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, there's a million running backs in the league. The league's full of all these great players all over the place. And to be able to bring in somebody, like, I'm not going to say it's the flashiest thing ever and everybody's going to hate me for this, but you know what? Fuck it. Zeke. Like, New England's awful. I don't know. I can't imagine he's making much money. He's a power guy.
Basically.
Like, like, why not? I don't see the problem in getting a guy like that. I don't think he's going to, like, wreck the team. People go, oh, his attitude, or like, he's not like that anymore. His time has come and gone. So I think it's okay. It's just like, get somebody that can give you that workload, because they don't have anybody around right now that's going to be able to do the job. Of that, like, I doubt the Colts are going to move on from, like, Zach Moss, because they're going to be trading Taylor at some point. They're going to lose him. But you know what? He's had a hell of a year for them. He's around. They're not doing anything. Like, I don't know. Just get somebody that can do it.
I'm kind of in for the Zeke troll, to be honest with you. If you can make that happen for Dallas week,
yeah, exactly. I just think do the funniest thing possible, and it would be hilarious to get the Cowboys' former running back on Cowboys week. Certainly, I'm in it just for the bits, to be honest with you.
I'm in a bit. No bid on Saquon, by the way, since the Giants are kind of having a fire.
I was good. Literally, you just read my mind. I was like, if you want a guy who is, because everyone's talked about Derrick Henry all year, and I've kind of been in the Derrick Henry is semi-wash category for the majority of the year. Every time I watch him, it looks like he's a half a step slower, not quite as explosive as he once was. Defenses don't prepare in the same way that they used to. The advantage of having Derrick Henry was they would stack the box and it would open up everything else for you. And I don't really see him having that kind of gravity as a running back like he used to. The other hand, Saquon Barkley, I mean, if he's healthy, man, I know that they're playing him like an absolute workhorse right now. And they're doing their best to try to injure him, it appears. But I think that he's one of the 5 running backs in the NFL that, when healthy and in the right situation, is one of the few that truly matters. And I think that it's like McCaffrey, Saquon. There's only a handful of guys, really. And look, he signed a 1-year deal, right? Am I correct? I believe.
Yes, basically. Yep.
We know they're not going to pay him anyway, and maybe the Giants wouldn't do it just because it's like, they are blowing it up. And someone did point out on Twitter earlier, I wish I could remember who it was very funny, said it's probably not a great sign that your franchise QB that you just signed to this extension is coming back and you're deciding to do a fire sale. Like, probably not the best news for Giants fans. But if he's available and the price is right, I'm all for just making the team better for this season and worrying about all that other stuff later. And he's one of the few guys that's truly dynamic enough to do kind of what Christian McCaffrey did for the 49ers last year.
Because in my fan fiction brain, like, knowing that you could run 22 personnel, 2 running backs, 2 tight ends, and be in shotgun, be in pistol, be in with Saquon Barkley, DeAndre Swift, and Jalen Hurts as his like bruise continues to heal over the next year. What the fuck are you gonna do? I mean, like, we just got through saying, like, how the fuck are you going to cover A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith when Dallas Goedert slips out? And now you have 2 very, very capable running backs of catching the football at any time that, like, including Kenny, by the way. I think to everyone's point, Kenny Gainwell is still a hell of a pass catcher, and I love him on third downs and 2-minute and all that stuff. So Saquon Barkley is much more tantalizing than anything I think we've discussed coming up towards the trade deadline, and something that I didn't think would come out of my mouth. But like this whole the trade kind of triggered that, I think, for everybody. I said Red Rover, Saquon come over. So like I don't think that's a waste of energy in any part, because you're going to get a comp pick. One of those guys is going to walk. If you end up keeping Saquon over DeAndre Swift, great, or vice versa. You're still they're walking. You're getting a third to a fifth, and you don't have to pay anything. I'm in.
Ty, how do you feel about that?
And fuck 22 personnel. I'm just thinking about how good they are in 12 personnel. You know, just what they've the success they've had just in 12 personnel these last couple of years, and how good they are against the run. Oh my God. Do you know how much play action can be made off of just 12 personnel? And this time, instead of having a shifty guy back there, you got somebody like Saquon. Are you freaking kidding me? Please sign me up for it. Please. I'll take it now. I'll take it.
I kind of need this now. Look, I'm a Penn State guy, so I'm biased. He was maybe the greatest college running back I've ever seen. He was unbelievable. But God, I mean, we've seen the stats all year about, you know, how the Eagles are breaking records for before their running backs even get touched when they're running the ball. And if you add in another just dynamic talent along with these other guys, that would truly make the offense completely unstoppable. I hope that they're trying to be aggressive and make these moves that, you know, we're not really expecting. And I think that Howie recognizes Jason Kelsey's not going to be here forever. Lane Johnson's not going to be here forever. The clock is ticking on your championship window. You know, look, we have Jalen Hurts. We have a championship level quarterback. We have a championship level core around him. Let's not waste any time. Let's diagnose some issues and see how we can get even better and make us completely unbeatable in January and February, which has been the goal.
Plus, you can sell right back to the Giants that you don't have to see Boston Scott, and you'll include him in the deal. You just go right up to him and be like,
the reign of terror is over.
Listen, he won't beat you. Saquon might still beat you, but Boston Scott's not going to beat you.
Exactly. So. Yeah. No, I would love to see something like that happen in the next 24 hours. It sounds like there are going to be deals made, and it should be fun. But look, man, continuing off of what we said last week, I said the NFL is mid last week. Bro, the Chiefs lost to the Broncos. The 49ers just lost their third game in a row.
I think that made Vince Quinn real happy, by the way. The Broncos win.
Russell
My
Wilson?
boys. Get him, Russ.
Oh, God. Here we go.
Broncos country. Let's ride, baby. Let's ride.
And real quick on the side note, when I say my father, who's a Kansas City Chiefs fan, was pissed off. I have never seen my father so livid a day in my life till that loss yesterday. And I was just sitting here just like, hey, man, calm down. I'll probably still see you. Probably later at the Super Bowl. We're going to see you later on in the season, but, you know, calm down. It's all
Trill,
right.
are you saying the path to Chiefs-Eagles is a little in check now?
All I'm saying is that team that the 49ers played yesterday when their quarterback is healthy is really good. Bengals are good, man.
Yes.
Like, do they have flaws? For sure. Absolutely. They also probably have the best defensive coordinator in football, and when healthy, one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. And that's kind of what we've been looking at with the Chiefs, because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, and their defense has been dominant, but it doesn't sound like they're going to make any upgrades at wide receiver, and I think that's a massive mistake, personally. I talked about it last week when they reacquired Mecole. I was like, he doesn't really move the needle in the same way that last year when they had that wide receiving core. Now, a lot of these guys haven't had great years, but last year when they were on the Chiefs were incredibly effective in that. And we learned in the Super Bowl that they were, you know, they were good enough to win. And I have more questions about that rematch. I have more questions about the Chiefs' ability to score in the playoffs, especially if they're facing a defense like Cincinnati. And look, the Bengals have beat them before. It's not like it's that long ago that they went to Arrowhead and they've won multiple times. So I think that the AFC, the NFL's just mid to bad. And we'll see with Dallas what they're made of over the next few weeks, because we play them twice. But that's really the only team right now that looks like somewhat of a threat to me, personally.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the Chiefs, are they crumbling under the pressure of Taylor Swift? Is it too great? Are the Swifties too extreme? The jersey sales have picked up and they're panicking? I think so. So, I mean, lots to worry about for them. I don't think Andy can take it. I don't think Mahomes can take it. I don't think Travis Kelce can take it. So that's all up in the air. Yeah, I mean, otherwise, like, here's the biggest thing, right? Is when you're looking at the league and everybody being mid, like for the Niners losing these games. I mean, man, Eagles are in the driver's seat for the 1 seed right now. Like, absolutely.
And the pressure's on them to come to Philly and win that game now. They have to, or they're done.
Which is it's killer. So, like, you're in such a good spot now. I mean, you play Dallas twice. So, like, look, even if the Eagles split, odds are, you know, they're going to be in a situation to go and get that 1 seed. So it's just like that's exactly where you want to be. Otherwise, I mean, Seattle, Detroit, like, I like those teams, but I don't see them as being the best record in the conference.
They don't have the okay, even if they're able to put together a run and get that 1 seed, they don't have the talent to win in February or in January and February to me. I've said it all year. I think the Cowboys have a better, and I don't believe in the Cowboys, but I think the Cowboys have more elite talent at important positions than those teams do right now. Now, maybe in a few years, sure, some of the guys on Detroit or Seattle will develop into those talents, but they're really young. They're inexperienced. They have quarterbacks I don't fully trust when the spotlight is on. And I think that the 49ers and the Cowboys are the only teams in the NFC with what we call game-wrecking talent. And that is what really matters when it comes down to the playoff football to me. And I'm not really concerned with any of those other teams.
Well, and I want to stick with that too, because, like, I don't know what else. And it's not like I don't respect the Cowboys' talent. Everybody in this conversation, I believe, does. But it's just, what are we supposed to do with that? Great. Like, I know that the Dallas Cowboys have more firepower than the Rams this week, and when they get going, they will crush you. If they, especially if, like, Micah Parsons is moving around, no one can control him. Absolutely. It's going to happen every single time because they draft really well. Dak Prescott is still way better than, like, a lot of people give him credit for, and it's easy to shit all over him because he's Dak, and he's a dork, and I love it. But what else? Like, that's what I mean. Yes, I can acknowledge all of those things. Coming into Cowboys week, I'm probably a little more fired up and biased than I usually am. But, like, even if the Eagles lose, how are you supposed to terrify me? We all know what's coming in 10 weeks. So, like, unless the Cowboys can really show me something completely different from their scheme, if Mike McCarthy can suddenly, like, not be stupid, and I just don't know what you want me to say. The same with the same script that we're gonna go with the 49ers. It's almost like repetitive and nauseating at this point. Kyle Shanahan has not picked the right quarterback in 6 fucking years, and we're still talking about the same damn thing about that team and how good its defense is and da-da-da. Same thing with Dallas. All you got to do is run at Micah Parsons successfully, and the game is over. Yep. That's it. No, and if you do that, you win. If you don't, you lose. That's pretty much it. Like,
I'm with you, but here's the thing that I will say, and once again, I've said it all season. I don't fear Dallas because of the McCarthy X factor. The Eagles coordinators have not looked great, to be completely honest with you. I think that they have shown their flaws through the. All right. Well, what's the counter to that?
When you say coordinators, are you including Desai in that? Because I got a big problem if that's the case.
Okay. So here's the thing with Desai. I think Desai has been really, really good in a handful of games. It very much reminds me of last year, to be honest with you, where the good games, the defense looks unstoppable. No one's able to generate any sort of consistent offense against them. They keep the game low scoring, all of that. The games where they kind of have been a little bit exposed, like these 2 Washington games that we've seen, it reminds me a little bit of last year where you get the wrong matchup at the wrong time and they might be able to be exposed. Having said that, I still think that they can figure it out, but I don't have as much confidence in these coordinators when we get to January and February in the same way I did last year, and that turned out to be a fatal flaw for Gannon when we got to the Super Bowl and we faced an all-time quarterback. The good news is they don't have an all-time coach and an all-time quarterback. So that's why I'm not afraid of Dallas. And once again, I think it's less about the Eagles' excellence and more about the lack of excellence around the rest of the NFL that I'm so confident in this team. Because, you can go.
to kind of get Sean Desai's back a little bit. Like I think I heard on Sunday where he's working with the 8th different secondary combination. I mean, this year, and we're only eight? This is 8-9 weeks in. Like, so every single damn week he's having to work with a different secondary, which means you can't necessarily get into like the true plays that you really want to play to kind of stop an offense. Why? Because the communication in that secondary is just as important as the communication up front against with the defensive line. So it's kind of hard for me to kind of attack Sean Desai with some of the good, like you said, some of the good games that he's had. Like, we have the personnel, like you said, to get the job done. I just think it's a little unfair to attack Sean Desai. Now, Brian Johnson's on my list. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. Brian Johnson is on my list. Like, if he got somehow, some way got hired someplace else or some sort of college to be a head coach, good. Get the hell out of here. Because like that's how pissed off I've been about the offensive play calling. But Sean Desai, I'm kind of a little bit more giving the benefit of the doubt. Not to mention the fact, going back to the secondary, including the fact that you got two guys who look like they've lost half a step. Your top corners look like they've lost half a step. They look toast yesterday.
So you're saying go give up a first-round pick and go get Patrick Surtain?
Hell yes. I'm at that point. I am honestly, so serious.
Oh, by the way, we have some breaking news. The Eagles have made a trade while we're doing this podcast.
No way.
Stop playing.
It is a whopper, by the way, all right?
No.
They are sending Contavious Street and a 2025 7th-round pick to the Falcons for a 6th-round 2024 pick from the Falcons. So they're trading a 7th in 2025 and a player for a 6th next year.
Did we not just talk about this, about how they love to do the 7th for 6 swaps? That honestly, it's a nothing trade, but I'm hoping that it means bring in more draft capital so you can move your own draft capital in another trade. That's what this tells me. It's the trade before the trade. And I hope that they end up making a move and filling one of these weaknesses on a team that doesn't have a ton of weaknesses, to be completely honest with you.
Yes. And now that being said, can we shut up about Brian Johnson for Christ's sake?
No.
It is 8 weeks of a brand new offensive coordinator, and we're wanting to throw this guy into the fucking Delaware Valley, pick a river. I like. Can I get a distinct understanding of what Brian Johnson is doing wrong?
3rd in the NFL in points, 2nd in the NFL in yards right now. Really, the big issue for us so far has been the red zone offense, which I am going to, after yesterday, I'm chalking that game up to variance. I know I hate to do, turnovers are luck, because I think that's kind of a bullshit line people pull. But if it's a fumble, it's different than an interception to me. And both of those plays, the Hurts play specifically, was not a play made by the defense. It was a bad play made by one of your best players. That's not Brian Johnson's fault. I'm actually with you in that I've came around a little bit. I've been harsh on both coordinators, and I've probably had too high of just a bar for both of these guys to start the year, because they're replacing guys who had all-time regular seasons last year. But having said that, I do think that the only thing I'm concerned about is the red zone, and I think that they're fixing those issues, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, I'm not convinced, just still from a play calling perspective, because while, yes, we got the victory yesterday, where in the hell are the runs? Which is one of the main foundations. I don't give a damn, John. I wasn't allowed to say anything in the beginning. Now I'm gonna get my piece in.
Ty, just answer this one question.
Let the boomer talk, damn it.
When was the first time the Eagles had a lead in that game?
The second half.
Where in the second half?
3rd quarter.
4th quarter. It was tied 24-24. Then they went up 31-24. You had no opportunity to run until the end of the game. Sorry, you were down. You were down the entire time.
Yes, but at the same time, the reason why we couldn't catch up to the goddamn 4th quarter is because we weren't allowing our defense to rest. Why? 3 and outs. Okay, finally a first down.
Turnovers
okay, damn, we went 3
red
and
zone.
out.
There was 2 turnovers in the red zone, Tyre.
Listen, I'm not gonna deny.
By the way,
Listen, I'm not going to deny the fact that Had the game plan had gone absolutely perfectly, minus those 2 turnovers, the offense puts up over 50 points. Maybe I'm not bitching and moaning, but all I'm saying is the foundation of this team is still based upon the run. I think you're getting a little too far away from it. Don't start becoming Andy Reid and start passing the ball everywhere. I'm just saying.
Andy Reid won the Super Bowl last year.
That was last year. And at the end of the day, how did he win? He ran the ball towards the end.
By realizing that turf was a piece of shit, changing the cleats and giving it to Pacheco. That's it.
Yeah, it was an inside job. I'm just saying.
Don't think I won't go there. Yeah,
imprison the sod father. I'm just saying. So do you know how many? I just have a quick question for you.
All right,
DeAndre Swift yards per carry yesterday.
Ooh,
I believe it was 4.3.
3.6.
3.6.
Jalen Hurts yards per carry yesterday.
Oh God.
6.1.
1.5.
Oh boy. Woo. Oh wow.
Kenny Gainwell yards per carry yesterday.
3.2.
-2. Yards per attempt by Jalen Hurts yesterday. 8.4. So
there you go.
When the passing game works, the passing game works. I'm not week to week. I would like to be flexible. One of the things I think that Brian Johnson has done a good job of is feeling out the opponent and what works and figuring out that over the course of a game. Because in these second halves, they look like they did last year. It's the first half where they struggle. They're not able to cook up a script that works against the teams that they're playing. I'm concerned about that when you get into more meaningful games against better defenses. But when you're kind of establishing, feeling out a game, and then figuring out by the end, I can't be too mad. But the Eagles are 7-1. We're the only team in the NFL that has 1 loss. Every other team has at least 2 losses, and most of those losses are embarrassing losses. The Lions got destroyed. The 49ers have lost 3 in a row. The Cowboys had an embarrassing loss. The Chiefs lost to the Broncos, and the Eagles are taking care of business. Best record in the NFL, online for the 1 seed if they can get through this next tough stretch that they have upcoming. So, look, how do we feel about the Cowboys this week? What's our score predictions?
Vince Quinn.
Oof. Yeah, this is the perfect Dallas game, right? They go to LA, they play the Rams, they beat the crap out of the Rams. I mean, that game was a blowout by halftime. It was completely over, which means they're feeling themselves. Let them feel themselves. Let them get all in their feelings and get excited and we were gonna go into Philly and beat the Eagles. Like I'm so ready for this energy. I think it's perfect for this team right now. So Dallas is going to put up some points, like Tony Pollard rules. I hate to say it, but the dude's fun. They have talent, but I mean, Dak's going to throw a couple of picks. He just does. That's just how he plays football, and that's going to be enough. I'm going to put the Eagles in this one. Let's say 27-17.
Ooh, I like that. I think Dallas actually kind of slaps them in like the first quarter. It's 10-0, and then it kind of becomes like 31-17. I should say if Jalen Carter plays throughout this game, it's going to be 31-17. If it's not, it'll be a little closer than that. Michael Parsons always hypes himself up way too much for coming out here, and I just got a really good feeling that the Dallas Cowboys are going to be slightly embarrassed from quarters 2 through 4. So, Ty, how are you feeling?
I'm going to go 30-21, and that's only if they run to Michael Parsons' side, because they've had success doing that in the past. When you isolate Michael Parsons and you play the run to his side, force everybody to his side, this team has had success in keeping Micah Parsons in check. So they do that. They come out with the victory. I say 30-21.
So this will be a big game for Jalen, injured, playing against a Dallas team that honestly he struggled against in his career. He hasn't really balled out against Dallas so far. I think it's going to be a lot up to him calling audibles to target Parsons on any given run play. I think that he's going to have to be doing a lot of creating on the move as well with that injury. And I'm not going doomer mode here. I think the Cowboys are an interesting matchup for us. I think the Cowboys win this game 28-24. I think the Eagles go to Dallas and they win that one in a few weeks. And I think that the Eagles still are the number 1 seed in the NFC and in the NFL when we get to playoff time. So this is not me panicking. I think that this will be a little bit of a wake-up call once again for the Eagles. I think that they've shown some flaws, and they'll have some exploitable flaws in this game, but it will be a really good game, and it will come down to the wire. And as much as I hate the Cowboys, they always play really good games when it's like this 425 spot, the prime time spot. Those games are always competitive and fun. So I'm really looking forward to this. I'll probably have a heart attack by the end of the game. So
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
guaranteed for all of us for sure.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, guys, this was fun. Slop them up tomorrow, trade deadline. Let's go, Howie, make some moves, pull some shit off that we can talk about here on the pod next week.
The seas are windy out there, me friends. Beware of the trade winds as they blow across the sea. Yar.
Slop them up.